Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, for another enthralling edition of the Motor Vehicle and Transportation Subcommittee. My name is Vaughn Stewart, and today, at least, I will be your chairman. We have one very interesting bill on the docket for today. It's Senate Bill 600, and we will jump right into it with me sharing my screen and showing you the reprint. So you may recall, we've talked about this a little bit already. You may recall that Delegate Healy had a bill on behalf of the Prince George's County delegation to create a stop sign monitoring system pilot program in Prince George's County. Well, since we passed that bill, a number of jurisdictions have expressed some interest in being added to the pilot. And we passed a bill including a couple of different counties to the pilot on the House side. We have since gotten this bill in, Senate Bill 600, from Senator McCray, wanting to add his legislative district, Senate District or District Legislative District 45. We have gotten a letter, thanks to Delegate Addison, from the 3 delegates that are in District 45, saying that they agree with their senator, they want to be a part of this pilot program as well. Similarly, we have gotten a letter from both District 46, which is the Senate President's district, including our own Delegate Lewis, as well as District 20, which is the chairman of JPR's district, as well as our majority leader and the vice chair of Ways and Means over here on the House side. And they want Tacoma Park to be added to the pilot program as well. So what is before us? It's a little unusual. We don't usually go so piecemeal and granular, almost like an alcohol bill with like legislative district by legislative district. But here, since this pilot program, since it's only a pilot program, we have actually done it that way. And we have added both, I'll scroll down here, both District 45 and District 46, as well as the city of Tacoma Park, which again is in District 20, to the pre-existing Prince George's program. Now, what we've also done, which we did not do actually for Prince George's, since we are limiting it to legislative districts, we have put a cap on the number of cameras that can be in each of these legislative districts. So Patrick, do you want to explain that a little bit?
Well, I wasn't sure what we were doing with the cap, so it's not actually in this reprint. It's on my list for discussion.
Okay, got it. Okay. So this reprint before you actually does not have a cap. So we didn't have a cap in the Prince George's original bill for Prince George's. And so we're not gonna add a cap for Prince George's. However, there's been some dissension within these 3 jurisdictions about some want a cap, some don't want a cap. The one thing we don't think would be proper is to, at least on the legislative district level, have different rules for each legislative district. It starts just to get really wonky and really cumbersome at that point. So I think what we should do is, because Tacoma Park is substantially smaller than a legislative district, and the 2 other legislative districts are obviously the same size and the same as every 3 delegate district size-wise, about 130,000 people. I think the amendment I'm going to move. Well, first I'm going to move the just reprint alone, just to add these 3 jurisdictions to the pilot. And then I think what I'm thinking about doing is adding a 4-camera cap to the 2 legislative districts in Baltimore City, and a 2-camera cap to the city of Tacoma Park, which is again substantially smaller than a legislative district. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. It seems like the jurisdictions are okay with this approach. We'll have some discussion now. Delegate Healy, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. My question is really what you were saying, that is the legislative districts are in Baltimore City, and I understand them. Tacoma Park is a municipality, and the municipalities in Prince George's County don't have any limit on what they can do, and some of them are smaller and some of them are larger than what Tacoma Park has. And as an entity, it's not a whole legislative district. So if it's just the city of Tacoma Park, I was wondering, it's just a question at this point. I haven't really formulated a thought about whether I want to do it or not, but I do want to question it at least.
Delegate Healy, I should mention that the Prince George's program is run by the county.
That's true.
The municipalities cannot, like for speed cameras, they can do, but they cannot do stop sign under the pilot. I think eventually they will be able to do so, once the pilot ends.
But there's no limit on the number that they can have in one municipality. Sometimes we have like 4 or 5 schools in one small town.
There is not a limit on the number, that is correct. But the number would be put in by the county. In
Right.
this instance, it would be run by Tacoma Park.
Oh, okay. Well, then they could put a limit on it themselves if they wanted to. As the local government.
Okay.
I just
So-
asking. It's just a question at this point. I'm not.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, what I'm hearing from you is that because Tacoma Park is an independent municipality, you would be willing to give them a little bit more leeway to maybe have an uncapped amount like we did for the county of Prince George's, but then install a cap for the 2 legislative districts in Baltimore City at 4.
I'm neutral on whatever they do in
Okay.
Baltimore City. I mean, that's up to what Baltimore City wants to do.
Sure. Okay.
And I don't even know what Tacoma Park wants to do. If they're content with the limitation, then I'm not going to make any stink about it at all.
Okay. Delegate Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Why don't we just say up to? Give
Well,
them-
that's basically what, I mean, the cap basically is up to.
Yeah, but yeah,
that's-
4, 2, 6, 8, yeah, football hike. Give them a number.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the cap, it basically, I mean, they could do less, it's just a maximum. Delegate Addison.
Why can't we go up to 6? Delegate Morgan stole my question. We couldn't do up to 6 because of the amount of schools that we have in our district, they might not have in the 46.
Yeah,
We don't
fair
wanna
enough.
cap- We don't.
So here's the problem we have, Delegate Addison, is that your district is comfortable with no cap, which I would also probably personally be okay with. But the District 46 is only comfortable up to 4 cameras in their legislative district. And so we're at this weird spot, and it seems like even kind of absurd to even have this discussion, where we're this weird spot where do we really want to treat 2, essentially bordering Baltimore City legislative districts dissimilarly for the cap? And then do we want to treat Tacoma Park differently? And then we also have the entirety of Prince George's. So this is a very, very piecemeal. I mean, I think what you're seeing here is that some legislators are brave enough to have their districts participate in this, even though they may face some blowback from their own constituents, and others are not necessarily as courageous, or at least they want this experiment to play out first. I do think that people have legitimate concerns about, a speed camera is objective in the sense that either someone is over or under. I think the concern people have about stop sign camera, I don't really share it, but the concern I've heard is that it's more subjective than the number, right? Like how long you stopped for, or whether it was a rolling stop, or whether you ran it is somewhat more subjective. So I think that's the consternation you're seeing, why not every legislative district's team is coming out, trying to volunteer for this. But I think that we should commend the legislators that are willing to be added to this pilot program, because the more jurisdictions that we have participate in, the more data we have about whether this is something that should be pursued on a statewide basis. Delegate Terrazza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is enabling, right? Like this says they can do.
Correct.
So I guess like for Baltimore City, I don't know how this works. Like if we didn't put a limit on it, who would make the decision about how many cameras to put in? Would that be
It'd be the city level.
at
Yeah.
the city level? So they need that protection because I see. Okay, you may have already said this. I'm just
Yeah, I think the
Gotcha.
46th district is basically like they wouldn't be the decision makers, right? So if we
Okay,
don't
I see what
cabinet
you're saying.
now, they're worried that the city council would just jam them with 100 cameras, and they don't want that many.
okay.
Yeah.
I was saying thanks. I muted myself. Sorry. Thanks.
And I totally understand Delegate Healy's point about Tacoma Park at a municipality. As a municipality, it just seems weird to provide no cap for a city of 17,000 people, but then to provide a cap for a legislative district of 133,000 people. Okay, that engendered some new thoughts. I love it. Delegate Terraza.
I was just gonna say, I think it might make sense since this is pilot to have a cap, but I also don't know how the jurisdictions feel.
Okay, Delegate Healy.
I just want to be on the record clearly that all the limitations that were put on for the bill were compromises because other people insisted. Prince George's County wanted, Prince George's delegation wanted it to be a local decision, that it would be run the way the traffic light cameras are, where to place them and all of that. That was the original vision. And because of the political compromise of creating this pilot program, they accepted the limitations of having the county make decisions for the city. And it doesn't sit well in some parts of Prince George's County to this day. So I don't want to say that, you know, you shouldn't be modeling it on what we're doing, because we're not happy with it either. We wanted to have the local municipalities to be able to create these themselves. The only practical part of it is that the counties certainly can do the legwork of creating things, you know, measures and finding the companies that do this and setting standards. But and that's pretty much what they've done. They're in Prince George's County, the county government has not really limited any of the municipalities from doing what they wanted to do.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I mean, I totally see where you're coming from there, Delegate Healy. And, you know, maybe in future sessions, we could, you know, right some of those wrongs too and make the Prince George's County program work better as well. We'll see. But, okay. So for now, I'm going to move the reprint amendments just so we can, you know, start, you know, making some progress here. I'm going to move the reprint amendments just to add those 3 jurisdictions, the 2 legislative districts and the 1 city to the bill. I'm going to move that first. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, great. Any final thoughts or any further thoughts on just adding those 3 jurisdictions to the existing program first before we talk about the caps anymore?
Can I add one
Yeah, of course,
question for the
Patrick.
subcommittee? Should we add the 46th and the 45th district in Baltimore City as they exist today, or just leave it as is and let them change every 10 years? Of course, there won't be a redistricting before this pilot runs out, so maybe.
Yeah, I would say just leave it as is because we're not worried about redistricting right now.
Okay.
Yeah. All
And
right.
then, oh, I should add that at the end of the bill, I didn't have time to draft it in. There is a report for Baltimore City at the end of the pilot. There will be a report added for Tacoma Park.
Okay, got it. So that'll be part of this amendment motion then too, is that we'll align the Tacoma Park report as well. But we'll keep the legislative district will just say that district's number, because I don't think we're really worried about redistricting because this pilot program will be over before 2032 or whatever. Right. Okay. All right. All in favor of that amendment, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Now on the cap thing, I think what I'll do is I think we've got to cap, I think all 3 of them. I think it's not fair to cap some and not others. So I'm gonna move, like I said, a 4 camera cap in 46 and 45, which is what 46 wants. It's not what 45 wants. Yeah, sorry, Delegate Addison, but you know, just to make it uniform, I'm gonna do a 4 camera cap in 46 and 45, and then I'm gonna do a 2 camera cap in Tacoma Park. I think it's not perfect, but you know, we're 4 days away. We're making the sausage here. I think that's probably about as close to good as we're going to get at this juncture. Anyone have any thoughts on that? All right, I'll move that. Is there a second?
Second.
No? Okay. Okay. All right. Any final thoughts on the 4-4-2 arrangement that I laid out that is sort of loosely population based and also is very much being guided by disagreements among senators that we're kind of subject to? All right. All in favor of that amendment, raise your hand or signify by saying aye. Okay, all opposed? All right, that'll pass. On the bill as amended, I'll move favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the amended bill, which again is subject to caps, but expands this stop sign monitoring pilot program to 2 legislative districts in Baltimore City, as well as the municipality of Tacoma Park and Montgomery County. All in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And who's opposed? All right, Delegate Jacobs is opposed. All right, well, that will receive a favorable report from the subcommittee. We might still meet tomorrow. I'm not quite ready to say this is our last meeting, but appreciate y'all's work as always. I'll see you at the voting session in 30 minutes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.